Alright, let's read it, boys. In our upcoming 316 expansion, we're making a number of balance changes over the last 2 days. We talked about our plans for flask and ailment mitigation and core character defenses and recovery. We strongly recommend reading those posts prior to this one. Today's post covers our plans for auras, curses, and elemental damage over time. Oh man, I really do feel like the last Ignite player in the galaxy. We assembled this article as a set of identified problems and our intended solution. Below each solution is a spoiler tag with the specifics of what we're currently intending to change. Please note that we're still a couple of weeks out from release. Anything here is subject to change based on our further testing and your feedback. Alright, support characters, auras, and other reservation effects. How much do we have here? Ooh, okay. Alright, problem. The reduced reservation stat provides very little benefit at low values but becomes very powerful when heavily invested in. This allows players to run every aura in the game. It also forces reduced reservations to be balanced around extreme levels of investment, limiting how useful it can be to characters that do not run enormous amounts of reservation skills. Finally, characters that heavily invest in reduced reservation in order to run more skills on mana were also able to reserve life extremely effectively as well with no further investment. Oh damn, they're actually addressing low life too. Rendering this the only sensible way to play most heavily reservation focused builds. Replace reservation reduction with reservation efficiency. Oh fuck. So it's basically like cooldown reduction now, huh? Is what I'm assuming. When stacked, reservation efficiency does not allow for infinite auras. Okay, it's literally cooldown reduction. This can be given out much more liberally as a result, letting characters run additional reservation effects with only a couple of sources of reservation efficiency. The average character benefits, but the top end of extreme reservation has been made significantly weaker. Modifiers to reservation have been replaced with reservation efficiency. Reservation efficiency works by dividing the cost of the reservation effect. 100% increased reservation efficiency would halve the cost of all auras. Okay, yeah. 50% reservation efficiency cuts down the cost enough to let you reserve an additional 50% reservation aura. Yep. Alright, perfect. I mean, that's the perfect solution in my opinion. Passives and item modifiers with reduced reservation have been replaced with increased mana reservation efficiency, generally at double the value of the previous reduced reservation value. Double? Oh man, sounds like a lot of math. But sometimes with different values for balance reasons. Yeah. This means that a small amount of reservation investment is more impactful than before, while high investment doesn't allow as many auras to be used. Aura stacker's dead. I mean, it depends on the numbers, but yes. The vast majority of reservation efficiency offered is now mana specific in order to prevent reserving both life and mana being the default choice for a build heavily invested in reservation. Oh wow, okay. Generic reservation efficiency and life reservation efficiency are still available on some item modifiers. Okay, so aura stackers are definitely like fucked. But then aura bots might still work. I mean, you're losing a lot of defense to get something like this going. If not mentioned below, all sources that previously provided reduced reservation, including for specific skills or types of skills, now provide increased mana reservation efficiency at twice the value of the reduced reservation they used to give. Modifiers on existing items are affected by these changes. Notable passive skills granted by cluster jewels that previously granted reduced reservation of a specific aura now grant 60% increased mana reservation efficiency of that skill for auras that have 50% base reservation and 100% increased mana reservation efficiency of that skill for auras that have 35% base reservation. That's like way more than 2, no? And 100% increased mana reservation efficiency of that skill for auras that have 35% reservation. Oh, okay, right, because it's a percentage, so double is 100%. Double compared to before, but it's a different calculation now. Okay, yeah. The Hierophant Sanctuary of Thought Notable passive skill now provides 25% increased mana reservation efficiency instead of 10% less mana reservation. Man, that's pretty big. I'm not gonna lie. Stuff like this is actually pretty huge for mana builds, because you can potentially fit in an aura for just like a 4-point investment, and that sort of multiplier is gigantic on a mana setup that doesn't use mana to cast anyway. Heaven enchantments that previously granted reduced reservation of a specific skill now grant the following value of increased mana reservation efficiency for that skill. Existing items will instead have twice the previous reduced reservation value, generally lower than the new values. Helmet enchants are like omega value now. Isn't this like gigantic for Spellslinger? Doesn't this make Spellslinger potentially really fucking nice? Actually, I mean, yeah, for sure it does. Especially for SSF, unless they moved something about it. It's a win for everyone. Great change. Yeah, for everybody but aura stackers. But I mean, yeah. Honestly, I remember when aura stackers initially came out and we were discussing this solution on Bakelast quite a lot. And then I also talked about it a lot on stream. So it's nice that they're finally committing to it, because it never really made sense. I mean, it literally made sense the way aura stacking worked or works now prior to releasing this. It literally makes sense. Technically, this makes less sense, but then it's so much healthier for the game that, yeah. I'm assuming that they want people to like run 2 aura bots for a group, and for that to be the way to do it, which is still, by the way, going to be super worth it. Like if you have a group of 6 people and 2 of them are aura bots, you're still speeding up like 5 times over or something. But I'd have to look at numbers, because I'm pretty sure that you can still run like 5-6 auras. Characters specialized in maximizing the power of auras provide an absolute insane amount of damage and defense to party members. Oh fuck, they're addressing it separately. Okay, interesting. Making a party with an aura specialized character is so much more effective than one without. Oh shit. I'm like, yeah, you just run 2 aura bots instead of 1 now. They're not really addressing like aura effect or anything like that. It's still gonna speed you up like 6 times over. Here we go. A solution: remove sources of aura effect from cluster jewels and move the aura cluster jewel type to small cluster jewels, so it is no longer possible to continuously stack aura effect for your party. Introduce a new cluster jewel notable to increase the effect of your auras on you for builds that are building auras for their own power. Specifics: aura cluster jewel type can now be found on small cluster jewels rather than medium cluster jewels. Yes, this makes it more costly and less impactful to stack large numbers of aura cluster jewels. The small passive now grants 6% increased reservation efficiency instead of increased aura effect. Woo! I mean, it technically makes it cheaper, not more costly, because you have less means of investment. But it's less efficient per point, right? But what I'm saying is that before you could use 6 passive points, and now you can only use 3. And realistically, you're probably going to be using 2 anyway. Cluster Jewel notable passive skills have had all aura effects removed. Holy fuck. Okay, the increased aura effect of auras on you from the Purposeful Harbinger Cluster Jewel notable now only applies to your own aura effects on you. Holy fuck me. Man, you guys remember when me and Ambu were fucking raving out on chat? When people were arguing with us that like aura stackers and all this shit's gonna be fucking completely busted and insane, and chat was like, no, you're fucking stupid. And by the way, Voices isn't even that good, like it's not even efficient, lol. Yeah, so if I were to summarize the aura stuff, really good. I mean, I thought that they're gonna do this a long time ago. I was very surprised that they were actually like tweaking numbers and moving shit around, and then they released that entire fucking crazy ass patch where they were like, we're just gonna change literally every aura gem in the game and like all of the alternative ones and everything, instead of just doing this. As much as I think they've overcomplicated a lot of solutions in the other balanced manifestos, I think this one seems complicated, but it's very simple. and to the point, something that they should have done a long time ago. As far as like actual builds that are affected by this in the game, yeah, I think aura bots are dead. I think you can still potentially run to, or aura stacking is dead, I should say, as far as like an individual goes. I think aura bots are still probably worth it, honestly. Again, we don't know all the numbers, but it still looks worth it. As far as like one aura bot or maybe even two, I think it still is enough to justify it for group play, depending on what they do with curses anyway. I think Spellslinger is pretty heavily improved for SSF, which is fucking fantastic because it's like one of the best ways to play. I think Hoag dead. Hoag is actually improved in my opinion. I think Hoag is much better with this, and you should have easier access to proper cluster jewels for Hoag too. So yeah, I think it's improved for everything. Any SRSers? I mean, SRS should be better off too. Actually, SRS should be significantly better off because now you can run a banner, hatred, and you can run conversion skits. Oh, you guys are... what? There's more? How could there be anything here that affects SRS? Wait, what? How can SRS be fucked by this? I mean, I can understand like softcore SRS. Okay, well, fuck you. You guys are trolling. There's no way. Oh, I know. EE, right? It's because of this. They pray fucked EE. That's what it is. That's what you guys mean. Oh, no. Alright, support characters. Curses. Problem. Characters specialize in maximizing the number of power of curses provide far too much damage and defense to party members, making a party with a curse specialized character so much more effective than one without. True. I mean, even in solo play, I feel like curses are underestimated heavily nowadays. Shit like Occultist isn't played enough realistically. Make curse cluster jewels a small cluster jewel. Oh, fuck. No, that's a pain for Occultists especially if you're delving or something on hardcore. Many of the notable rework to benefit specific curses significantly, greatly improving a regular character wanting to maximize their curse of choice. Make significant changes to Dodge's skin as it applies many curses at almost no, fuck, I've been looking for a Dodge's skin the whole league to play one build, man. I played a Dodge's skin build a long time ago, it's so cool. Fuck. The curse cluster jewel type can now be found on small cluster jewels rather than medium cluster jewels. This makes it more costly and less impactful to stack large numbers of curse cluster jewels. To make these jewels more useful for characters using only one or two curses, we greatly improved the cluster jewel notables, granting benefits to specific curses as well as added new ones. However, they can no longer be found on cluster jewels other than curse type ones. Really? Oh, fuck. Isn't this like Toxic Rain nerf? Wasn't Toxic Rain using some of this stuff? List of cluster jewel notable passive changes. Evil Eye, Whispers of Death, the Dark Discourse cluster have been reworked as new curse-themed notable passives. In general, curse effect that applies to all curses no longer exists on cluster jewel notable passives. Oh, fuck me. Because that's my biggest concern, like, what are you gonna do about Occultist builds? Add a new cluster jewel notable passive that benefits Doom, marks and hexes that previously didn't have their own notable. Such as Punishment, Elemental Weakness, Temporal Change, and Enfeeble. For example, 20% chance for hexes to be applied at maximum Doom, and hexes have 50% increased Doom gain rate. Yo, let's go! My impending Doom build? Let's go. Summon Dodgery Effigy skill now has a short cast time. I was like, oh, this still sounds okay. Oh, short cast time fucking kills it. It was like all the fun of the build. You just put it on your left click and you're a god. Its cooldown has been removed. Previously 0.5 second, now has a mana cost. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, not much to say about this one, if I were to be completely honest. They've ruined the entire like build. But it makes sense. Honestly, it was way too rewarding. I just wish that I played it before they killed it. And then, yeah, everything else makes sense. I worry a little bit for occultist, but hopefully they're gonna keep that in mind. But realistically, people don't run shit like blasphemy and whatnot anyway, so this is only like an SSF/hardcore problem. Hardcore people don't give a fuck about any of this stuff. If anything, this is beneficial for literally every other build. So, yeah. Elemental damage over time. Alright, this is the banger, right? This is when the only Ignite user in the galaxy gets what he wants. And every damage over time build is Omega buffed. But not to the it's okay, let's be real. I'm still a hipster. So it can't be buffed so much that everybody plays it, but it needs to be buffed enough to at least counteract the fucking garbage they did in 3.15 to Ignite builds. Holy fuck. Like, I'd be fine with playing Ignite builds from like 3.14. They're not good builds. They're bad. Except Fireburst. That build was good. But like actual Ignite builds, they weren't good. But they were good enough for me to enjoy, while everybody else didn't play it. Because it was trash. But I don't agree. I mean, they are. But then I still like it. Whatever. So I'm hoping quality of life, which Ignite builds already have a lot of anyway, but hopefully sustainability improvements. And then also, like, make it like 30% better than what it was in like 3.14, please. The elemental damage over time effect of cold damage over time, burning and ignite are too dependent on elemental overload and elemental equilibrium. True, but keep in mind that they literally like more than double the damage for these builds, please. Ignites are too dependent on ignite damage multipliers on skills. True. Making skills without ignite multipliers too weak to use ignite with. True. Okay, yeah. Greatly improve the base solution. Greatly improve the base strength of ignite, burning, and cold damage over time. Greatly improve the base strength of ignite, burning, and cold damage over time while making elemental overload and elemental equilibrium less powerful or require more investment? With damage over time skills, rebalance skills that could apply ignite effects around the new base damage of ignite and remove the ignite damage multipliers. Ooh, but why? Ooh, okay, so I worry about this because I really liked what they did. Many of you guys don't remember, but Path of Exile Forever was basically a game where on virtually every single skill, you could slap Ignite Proliferation onto, and it would be the best thing in the game, because any skill was best done by just throwing Ignite onto it for like an eternity. And so they were like, okay, let's nerf it. So then they nerfed it, they nerfed double dipping, blah, blah, blah. And then it was shit for a very long time. It was very good for a very long time. People don't remember, but Ignite builds were literally the best in the game. And then they were literally useless in the game for like 2 or 3 years. And then eventually they were like, okay, so we don't really want to have the same problem that we had initially by having Ignite applied to every single thing ever. Instead, we're going to be designing skills with the idea that these skills are best done through Ignite. Stuff like Armageddon Brand, stuff like Fireball, you know, Flame Blast had its numbers tweaked, blah, 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 right? They kept moving stuff around, even Divine Ire or to a certain extent Penance, right? They kept adding skills like that that just made sense. They were easily controlled. You could just tweak the numbers. It was good. That all the skills were good and the archetype as a whole wasn't that great, but it made sense. So for them to now say that they're looking to revert that, one, screams balance problems for them because they're gonna have to nerf shit potentially if they overdo it as they keep introducing stuff. Two, it's probably gonna be way too weak is my expectation. I think they're gonna fuck up the numbers and it's gonna be way too weak for the players, and we're gonna have to wait for like boosting stuff up for like another 7 years. All right, Player Ignite now inherently deals 150% more damage than before. Previously 50% of base damage over 4 seconds, now 125% of base damage over 4 seconds. Okay. Cold damage over time skills now deal more damage. 2.2k for Creeping Frost from 1.4. Okay, those are some really big numbers. What the fuck? Wintertide. 261 from 164. Wait, how the fuck did Creeping Frost get buffed more? Or maybe it's the same percent. Cold Snap. 1.6k. 1.9k from 1.2k. 2.5k from 1.5 on Volt Cold Snap. Vortex. 2.3k from 1.5k. And then Siphoning Trap. Oh, interesting. 760 from 426. Okay. All right, these numbers are really fucking high. They start off with a banger. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, oh, that's a note. Okay, burning skills now deal more damage. Searing Bond from 3.9k. Oh, from 2.5 to 3.9. Fuck me, that's huge for Searing Bond. Searing Bond looks OP, baby. Level 30 Searing Bond. Your totem's got like 30k HP. You do like fucking 20 million DPS. Let's go, dude. 700 previously. 440 Scorching Ray, also a good number. Righteous Fire, 2.4k previously 1.5. And now deals 35% of life and energy shield base per second, previously 20%. Nice. Vol Righteous Fire, 120. It's 160 as fire, previously 99. Okay. Fire Trap, 2.9k previously 1.8. I thought Fire Trap was like 2.2. Okay. Flame Wall, 2.3 previously 1.5, but they just nerfed it. Now they're buffing it, sorta. Current Legion support now has 2.1k previously 1.3. Okay. Any skills that had an ignite multiplier have had that multiplier removed. The skills have been balanced to compensate for this if necessary. Certain skills have been rebalanced due to the change to base ignite damage, taking into account whether they're able to take full advantage of elemental overload now. Note that the examples below do not include the effect of elemental overload or elemental equilibrium, hence why ignite values is much higher for many of the skills. Maybe I should read that first, honestly, before I keep reading this, because it's not contextualized in any way, like per skill. So I don't know why they would name that before. The elemental overload keystone passive skill now gives more hit and ailment damage to skills if they crit in the last 8 seconds. This means you cannot use a second rapidly hitting skill, making a small amount of critical chance investment much more important. The skill's taking advantage of elemental overload. That is an awful change. Like you balance it around an archetype rather than the theme of the skill. Things like Armageddon Brand, okay. But then, what about shit like Fireball? How does that make any sense? Oh, I don't know. I'll have to think about this for a minute. I need to see the numbers. Elemental Equilibrium Keystone passive skill now applies 25% exposure of the elements not hit with. Removing exposure of the element you hit with. It's now an easy way to apply a strong exposure effect rather than a huge damage boost that we balance elemental damage over time skills around. Some other skills have been reviewed because of these changes. You guys weren't kidding about they killed SRS. Fuck me. Strong exposure effect, 25. Are you kidding? We'll be looking at pure elemental minions to determine what changes are needed here. Move the elemental equilibrium keystone passive to the ranger section of the passive skill tree. Are they fucked in the brain hole? What? Where there's much less existing access to exposure for elemental builds and access to skills that rotate elements such as Wild Strike. Okay, those numbers above better look fucking real good. I mean, honestly, like, if the numbers are good enough without these things, I'm all for it. But they gotta not fuck up the numbers. And I don't know, thematically, it kind of destroys the abilities, I feel. Like, how good can the numbers be on something like Fireball? We were looking at pure elemental minions to determine what changes are needed here. Move the elemental... Okay, yeah, they moved it, such as Wild Strike. More scaling options have been added to damage over time builds on the passive skill tree and items, raising the top end of damage over time for well-geared characters. Okay. I mean, the problem with damage over time builds already is the same problem. The big problem with damage over time builds in a lot of cases, and especially for Ignite builds, was the fact that they required way too much traveling for way too little access to nodes on builds that had way too many problems defensively, sustain wise. You just couldn't build them. So basically, they had high travel investment, low passive point investment into actual damage because there was no damage, which resulted in the fact that every single skill was balanced around having like Holy Fire 100% of the time, right? Like there were no Ignite builds that wouldn't have Holy Fire or Breath of Flames. Like you have to have it. And those were the only things that you could pick up. So then you had to struggle to pick up like any resemblance of damage anywhere else, which meant that it kind of ended up the same way that brands are. Brands are even more so an example of this, where like because you have to fucking, you know, pick up like every single node on every single everywhere, it's like practically impossible to build something that is actually strong. Now, there was a great time pre-315 where you could take Cluster Jewel for an Ignite build and shabam. Suddenly, your build magically begins to kind of work. Kind of. Because the skills were still shitty, even with that. But it would kind of work. And then GG went, no. You're getting damage. And we don't like that. And so they fucking just annihilated it. They absolutely just took a hot, spicy shit on it. And it was gone. There are now 5 tiers of global damage over time multiplier suffix modifiers that roll on weapons. Give up to 26% on one-handed weapons. But it's so difficult to roll these. Like the problem is that you have 2 suffixes now, and one of them is like practically impossible to roll. So you have to craft it. It gives us an illusion of like getting fucking 8% more damage. That's never going to happen. I don't know. There are now 5 tiers of global damage over time multiplier suffixes that roll on all amulets. Okay, hold on. Going up to 26%. Okay. This one I can respect. But you could already get this with influence items. Not 26%, but 16%. But it's also rare as fuck, so we're gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully this is like the rarity of crit multi or something at best. Or at most. Influence modifiers and rings that had chance to ignite, freeze, shock, as well as some flat damage have been changed. They no longer provide a chance to apply an ailment, but provide a lot more added damage instead. The fire version rolls up to 30 to 54 fire damage against ignited enemies. The cold version rolls 26 to 48 cold damage against chilled or frozen enemies, and the lightning version rolls up to 8 to 86 lightning damage against shocked enemies. What does this have to do with damage over time? Essence of Delirium no longer rolls. Hexes you inflict have +5 to maximum doom on ranks. Oh, fucking hell. Or +10 to damage over time multiplier on amulets. Instead, it now rolls 15% damage over time multiplier on rings, and hexes you inflict have +10 to maximum doom on amulets. Okay, that's really good. I like that. Especially the doom part, honestly. Fire, cold, physical, and chaos damage over time multiplier modifiers and jewels now have the value of 8%. There's the new global damage over time multiplier modifier that can roll on all jewels with a value of 6%. All jewels can now roll a faster damage of ailments prefix modifier, 6%. Jesus, okay. This is some high investment shit. So they're going back to like really itemizing the fuck out of your character. The chance to ignite freeze, shock, suffix, modifier, and weapons now have multiple tiers with their chances now 10, 15, and 20% respectively. Staves have 20, 25, and 30? Cringe. Okay. Almost as cringe as the combustion change from last league. Damage over time multiplier modifiers on influence, gloves, and amulets now roll values up to 20 at the highest tier, previously 16. I mean, you added the other stuff. Why even bother? Make this like way better or something, or make it into something else. Faster ignite, poison, and bleed modifiers on influence boots now roll up to 12, previously 10. Emberwake added a bit too much damage and crowded out any other option you could use with an ignite build. The dial sign has gotten weaker over time due to us adding more sources of faster ignite damage. Actually, it's kind of the opposite. They've kind of made it worse, and I'll explain why in a minute. It no longer has ignited enemies burn 50% slower. 50-65% slower. It now has 40% less burning damage. 40% less burning damage. Okay, it's still pretty good. But you guys want to know why this is a problem? So, ignite builds are kind of limited right now to either being a chieftain, but not really, or being an elementalist. And the problem with elementalist is that it's got this little line that everybody uses, especially after the nerf to combustion, which is your hits always ignite, which makes literally every hit in the entire game ignite. And what Emberwake does is that it applies 2 ignites that are weaker. However, as people have noticed, this wasn't always the case. And the reason for that is because we assumed that Emberwake is bugged, and every time you ignite a target, the target is ignited, but only the highest damage dealing ignite deals the damage. But that is not the case with Emberwake for the second ignite. It actually chooses any of the ignites on the target and then deals damage with that. Which means that if you're hitting a target with a Stormbrand, but you're igniting with a Fire Burst like people were previously, then you would have 20 ignites and only one of them would be strong. And we assumed that that was a bug, but I actually got confirmation from GGG that that is in fact how it has always worked and is intended. So Emberwake's numbers look really good, but now that we're in a world where we're meaning to hit more frequently because of elemental overload, this might not end up being like good. But then simultaneously, we don't have to anymore enable stuff like EO. And potentially, I mean, realistically, you're probably not going to have to enable things like EE either, considering that they moved it. It pretty much doesn't exist for Ignite builds. And even if it would be in the same spot, the downside of having to like reapply this compared to essentially getting like 10% more damage, because you're going to have another source of exposure elsewhere anyway, it's just not worth it, you know? Like bothering. I mean, it would be worth it, but like it's not, you know? Because it also actively nerfs your clear speed on just about every build that wasn't like Fire Burst or something. So, yeah. Burning Arrow is too complex for a level 1 skill. Redesign the skill without a secondary stacking burning effect, but with added fire damage against ignited enemies. No longer has the stacking burning effect. Now deals 150. 214, previously 184. Now adds 250 average damage. Now has an attack speed of 90, previously 100. Now has a 25% chance to ignite. Yeah, it's really bad. Okay. I mean, Burning Arrow's fucking dead anyway. They've murdered it. Ignite builds don't have a way to focus their damage on bosses, forcing balance to be the same for clear. Speed damage and boss damage. Man, stuff like this pisses me off. Fuck, I can't even focus on the next problem. Because it's like, it's an interesting skill. It's good. And suddenly, after 25 fucking years of Path of Exile, you guys care about, like, the level 1 player experience? Like, what the fuck even is this? Like, how does this make any sense? Where is this even coming from? Oh, guys, we really care about our new players. We want Path of Exile to appeal to everybody. Burning Hour is too complex. Like, this was the cool part about Burning Out. That in the end game, you had to balance the fact that by being offensive, you're putting your character at risk. And by being defensive, you're dealing less damage. It rewarded good play. This is just high clear speed, higher clear speed that doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, problem. Ignite builds don't have a way to focus their damage on bosses, forcing balance to be the same for clear speed and boss damage. Okay. Here we go. Change Flame Surge and introduce a new attack-based mechanic to be able to deal much more burning damage to a targeted enemy. Flame Surge? Flame Surge is getting a new burning ground mechanic that deals damage based on ignites on the target. We're investigating a similar mechanic for attacks. Oh no. Burning ground mechanic? Flame Surge? Fucking crappa. What? Okay. Let's look at these. Fireball no longer 88% more damage with ignites. It now has 25% chance to ignite at all gym levels, previously 39. Because of base ignite damage changes, ignite with this skill is now 33% higher. So it's useless. Fireball's unplayable. Fireball's like twice as bad as it was in 3.14. And in 3.14 already it was barely playable. Like, I understand their problem with ignite builds, that like they're too comfortable, they're too nice to play, and that sort of playstyle should be punished. And it is. Defensively, they suffer. They have no means of regeneration. They're high investment. Like, why would you attack its damage as well? Just because it has like high clear speed. And then I don't understand the 25% chance to ignite. I don't understand why they keep lowering chance to ignite on everything. They lowered it the patch before, last patch, and now again. Why? Why are you bottlenecking these skills that have like no means of investment into ignite, therefore force you into playing Elementalist? Like, why are you doing this? Why? I don't want to play a fucking Elementalist. Even playing a Chieftain sucks. Especially with Fireball, because it takes 45 hours to cast one time. Oh man, full Fireball no longer 88% more damage with ignite. It now has 25% chance at all gem levels, previously 39. Because of base ignite damage changes, ignite with the skill is now 33% higher. Discharge now has 55% less damage with ailments, previously 30%. Because of a base ignite changes, ignite with the skill is now 60.7% higher. Oh my god. I don't understand. Did they write this before they like thunk up the EO and EE changes? I don't understand. Like, these are straight up like nukes. Like, they're killing already dead abilities. There must be something that I'm misunderstanding. There's no way. Flamebest now has 60% more damage with elements for each stage. Like, did they balance this around everybody using like a Transcendent Mind and like fucking the Elder Unique gloves and having full Elder gear and all this stuff? Like, I just don't understand. Are they intending for Ignite builds to be super endgamey? I think that's like the only way that I can explain this. But it hasn't worked for mana builds. They didn't do a very good job at that. Just nobody plays them now. This kind of looks like the same thing's gonna happen with Ignite. Because of base Ignite changes, Because now 75% higher at 10 stages. This must like calculate in a way that I'm not understanding. There's just no way. It's poison, but garbage. Inconsistent trash. Like what the fuck? There must be something that I'm missing. Like these numbers are so bad. Are they basing these off of like 314 or something? I don't mind if Ignite is worse, honestly, than it was in like 314. Or even in 315. I genuinely don't mind it. If I don't have to fuck around with EO in EE again, I'm cool with that, you know? I think the quality of life is what Ignite builds are about. I'm fine with it. But this dramatically changes the playstyle. But then you can see that they did a good job with skills that they have under control. Skills that are inherently like a damage over time fire ability. They did a good job. I think these numbers look good. But then these ones just don't make sense. You can use anger. Yeah, you can use anger. You can use immolate. Immolate is super powerful. You can give like fire damage. As far as end game setups, you can get some pretty high investment going. I'm trying to think if it's actually like in any way better than what it was in 314 though. Like realistically, because Ignite builds got fucking savaged in 315. And like, what do you play until you get all this shit? I mean, technically, you're stronger earlier. And it should be really good for leveling. It's just probably gonna hit a brick wall, early reds, until you get some gear. And then every piece of gear makes a massive difference. Because that's the cool part about Ignite builds, is that if you get 16% more damage on an amulet or something, it's not like you have 16% more damage sometimes when you're attacking, blah, blah, blah. No. Like things are dying 16% faster and that's it. See, like in the case of Flame Blast, I can actually see this being like a big buff. Because Flame Blast had big problems with EO, and it even had pretty high problems with EE. And much of it was also dependent on Vol Flame Blast. So in the case of Flame Blast, I actually feel pretty good about this. Vol Flame Blast now has 70% more damage with ailment for each stage, previously 100. So base damage Ignite changes. Ignites with the skill is now 81% higher at 10 stages. Yeah. Flame Blast looks okay. It's still Flame Blast though. Incendiary now has a final wave. Final wave deals 250% more damage with Ignite, previously 500. Because of basic Ignite damage changes, then with the skill is now 45.8% higher. Receive the harsher damage loss because it still works very well with Elemental Overload. Oh my god. Okay, so they're contextualizing around this. They're actually aware of the Elemental Overload shit. And then they're making shit even worse. Are they delusional? No, they're not. Like, again, the problem with this are not the numbers. The numbers are good. Like, the numbers make sense. Especially if we get a separate single target. It makes sense. And it makes Ignite into like an actual playstyle. It is no longer this thing that you either have cluster jewels for or you don't. So you play it or you don't. And it is no longer this thing that you click this and your build is finished. You know? It actually is like a real build with real means of investment, with everything that you want realistically in a build as far as damage goes. But unfortunately, Ignite still suffers from the same problems. It still has sustain problems. It still has defensive problems. It still has problems with things that phase. And stuff like that, in my opinion, should be rewarded with its playstyle. The playstyle that Ignite builds have always had. Which is, you hit once, and it sort of does damage, but not really. But you hit once, and the thing is fucking dying. Well, now... it's just poison. It's like poison, but without the damage. I don't know. Incinerate. Quality... Incinerate looks decent, by the way. I think Incinerate in general is like an underestimated skill. Quality and anomalous. Firestorm no longer grants 0.06 seconds to base duration, or first impact deals 60% more damage with hits and ailments. Instead, it now grants 10% chance to ignite enemies. Because of base damage, Ignite changes. Ignites with the skill is now 150% higher. Using the anomalous quality, the Ignite is now 110% higher. Still bad. Fire Burst. Oh. Now deals 1.1k. Previously 1.1 to 1.7. Has a 1 second cooldown. Previously 1.5. Because of basic Ignite damage changes, Ignite with the skill is now 67.5% higher. His class now deals 155 chaos damage at gem level 1. Oh god, they're doing curse skills too? Oh fuck me. Okay, hold on. So it does 1k to 1.4k. Previously 700 to 1k. Now it's 40% more damage with hits per 5 Doom with most Doom. Previously 60%. And 15% more damage with ailments per 5 Doom with the most Doom. Previously 40%. Because of basic Ignite damage changes, 95.6% higher at 30 Doom and 83 at 40 Doom. Oh my god. This is so bad, you guys. Oh no, Doom Blast. Let me guess. They've killed it before I've even managed to get the Vixens. With impending Doom support, now deals 900 at gem level 20. Previously 600. Now it's 40% more damage with hits per 5 Doom on Hex. And 15% more damage with hits and ailments per 4 Doom on Hex. No longer has 60% more damage per 5 Doom on Hex. They've actually fucking killed my build before I even got to play it. The entire league I've been looking for Vixen's gloves to play this build. I've spent like fucking 2,000 scours. I've played multiple different leagues. Trying to chance the item. And they actually are gonna kill it before the fucking league comes out. They've actually just killed the build. Like, they've murdered it. Why? For what? Why did you do this? What is the purpose? So fucking Ignite impending Doom builds become a thing? Armageddon Brand now deals 600 to 920. Previously 400 to 600 damage. It no longer has 250% more damage with ignites or 25% chance to ignite. It now activates every 1 second while attached, previously 0.75. It has a critical strike chance of 5, previously 6. It now deals 10% more hit damage to branded enemy at gem level 1, which scales up to 29 at gem level 20. Because of basic ignite damage changes, ignite with this skill is now 10% higher. She's harsher. Oh my god, dude. It's just so cringe. I don't know. I guess to summarize this, the damage over time stuff, guys, I can officially say damage over time is better than ever. It's better than ever. The same way mana stacking builds are better than ever. They're better than ever. Now, is anybody ever going to play another Ignite build? Or play another... many of the builds that literally got annihilated from the game? No. No, they won't. I think the nerfs in 3.15 for Ignite specifically were far too severe. I think the lack of defense that Ignite builds specifically offer doesn't make up for the comfortable playstyle that is now different than what it was previously. I think the archetype gets way too hurt by the current boss typey shit. But simultaneously, a boss typey kind of content. But simultaneously, if you ever wanted to really play an Ignite build, it's very different. It's very new. It might become more comfortable to some. It definitely has the potential to be significantly stronger with investment, and with very high investment. I think it's just good, very good, maybe even. And then also we still have the Flame Surge thing coming in, which I think will be the absolute determining factor as far as self-casting at least goes. So yeah, I think they fucked heavily with the archetype. I think they fucked heavily with the playstyle. But simultaneously, hopefully this is an opportunity for more people than ever to play Ignite builds.